shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave here even if he could. His life is good, yeah!
Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee, the home of Alvin York and good old Dolly Parton and many others, right? Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch saying they are beautiful right now. Maybe not quite as beautiful here in, well, towards the end of January. They're pretty barren. I'll tell you, we've had some cold weather, as have you, probably, where you're listening. It's been a cold winter, okay? I mean, unless you're maybe living in Miami or somewhere, or San Diego, or Mexico, or Brazil. We hear from all of you, all around the world. And I really don't keep up with the weather in every state and every country on a daily basis. I'll try to do better at that. But I'm sure you've had some colder weather than you normally have if you live in, I don't know, Midwest, Northeast, in the United States. But enough about weather. We're here to talk about guns. Well, partly. On the radio show, I'm liable to talk about anything. Again, if you're new, this is just where you don't have to put up with my rambling, but if you tune in, if you click on it, you'll get some of my rambling. This is mainly for those folks that, I guess maybe you could say are sicker than the other viewers that I don't know, like to watch and even like to listen to some of the dumb things I have to say. So I appreciate you, whether you're sick or not. Apparently you're sick in the same way I am sick, and we're all kind of sick about firearms. We enjoy them a great deal, and we've come to know each other in some ways. You, me, more than me, you, if you kind of get what I mean. I mean, you get to know me a little bit better than I get to know you, so I'm trying to say. Other than I have had quite a few exchanges with some viewers and run into viewers all the time. And so, anyway, that's what this is. So don't get too alarmed or upset. Don't get your expectations up too high. Well, what we're going to talk about, it's a Sunday afternoon, and actually it's not too bad today for a change. We have a day when the weather is decent. It's very, very strange. It's up to 50. Going to be a little bit above 50 degrees. So I'm going to get out on the compound here, prowl around, maybe take a couple of shots, and to just get out for a walk, which you don't do as much when it's really cold. And of course, we've been gone. Many of you know that already. John and I went on a trip out west, tied in the SHOT Show in Las Vegas on that trip, and had a great trip. I really mean to tell you, we had a good time. We saw a lot of very interesting things, and SHOT Show is just one of those. The SHOT in itself, the SHOT Show is quite an event, and something you always would remember if you've ever been to it. But that was really, I won't say it was a small event, but in terms of what we saw and where we went, it really was just one stop along the way, which was the plan. I decided if I was going to the SHOT Show, I wanted to tie in a little bit of a tour of the West, not just drive or fly straight to Las Vegas and back to a gigantic gun show. I mean, that's hard to beat too, but there's some things out west I've not seen. Well, still a lot of things I've not seen and never will, of course, but I have flown over it on the way to LA or San Francisco, Phoenix, just a lot of different trips back in the 80s especially. But I've been around in some of those western cities and a little bit out into the wilds, but not much. So I just wanted to get into it, drive through it. You've really not been in the West until you have driven through the West for hours and hours. You really need to have that experience sometime if it's at all within reach, because it was really interesting. One would think it would be boring driving through West Texas, for example. We drove all the way across Texas, the big part, and ended up over, in El Paso. And that was what I wanted to do. I guess most people probably don't take that route going out west, the really extreme southern route that we did. Starting in Nashville, I don't say extreme southern. We didn't go down to Louisiana or southern Mississippi and start or anything, but we went down through Memphis and on down through Little Rock and to Dallas and on across Texas and through what are some cities out through there? Sweetwater. I mean, you eventually Midland. Had a chat with President Bush. But, I mean, eventually you run out of towns, don't you? If you've been through West Texas, once you get out there past, what was it? I guess, I don't know, Odessa, across the Pecos and around, and you run out of towns. It's a lot of driving and a lot of desert, and I enjoyed it. It was just very, very interesting to me. The terrain and everything is so different from what I'm used to. Now, if you were born out there, it's not a big deal. You probably get tired of it. You don't think anything about it. Just like I don't really think that much about living here amongst the big oak trees and hickories and walnuts. I don't think much about that. That's where I grew up, Kentucky, Tennessee. But the novelty of it really keeps it interesting to me. And of course, if you're kind of an old Western movie fan, it's even more interesting maybe because, over every hill I saw Clint Eastwood or the ghost of John Wayne riding, his trusty horse. But we had a great trip, and I'll tell you about some of the things we saw. Since we are about guns, at least partly, let's talk about the SHOT Show, I guess, first, because we eventually did land in Las Vegas and fought our way through all the hot women and the gambling casinos and got into the convention where there were thousands of booths of firearms and related equipment. Pretty interesting place. If you have a connection with a gun shop or somebody and can get into the SHOT Show, you would probably enjoy going. If you like firearms, a brilliant deduction, right? That you enjoy that, even though it's vast. It really is. It takes days and days to really get through it. But it's something maybe you'd want to do one time. And I really wanted to do it one time at least. Because of my teaching profession, I was unable really to get out very easily in January for a week. This wasn't good. And it's never essential that I be there, that I go to that, even though I guess you could say I'm pretty deep into the shooting world in some ways, but I can talk to anybody on the internet or telephone. I really need to. It is good to meet some people that we've had some dealings with, and some people we might like to have some dealings with, or to get T&E guns from, or ammo or something from. I don't know. It's just not as essential an essential part of what we do as maybe some other folks. But I really just wanted to go because it's a great gun show. Not to make videos and give a lot of advertisement to all the vendors out there. I just wanted to go see the stuff and see what's new and see people in the companies and just say hi and just that kind and meet a lot of viewers. Even at the SHOT Show, we met, I don't know how many, viewers, just so many, more than I really expected. I kind of expect that, or have come to expect that, at gun shows and at the NRA convention, because that's the place where, we all go, or can go. And so a lot of viewers show up at those events, and wasn't expecting so many at this. But, if you work in a gun shop or whatever, you're in a related industry, it doesn't mean you do not watch YouTube, right? So it's good to meet a lot of viewers, and and just see all the cool stuff. But the SHOT Show is a little different, and if for those who don't know, it really is an industry show, and you cannot just go to it, even if you're in Las Vegas. I'm sure there are a lot of gunnies around Las Vegas that would love to have gone in, but could not. You have to have credentials. You have to be with the media or with a gun store or something. So, I mean, the retail side of it, and I don't know what all the other options are exactly. As I might have shared with you, I had a little trouble getting my credentials, thankfully, in time. And some miscommunications with the NSSF and different things. I finally just gave up and said, forget it, we don't need to go anyway. But we had lots of fine offers from some vendors to get us in, and we went in through Talon Grips. CZ was going to, I mean, we could have gotten in with about any gun manufacturer probably that knew us would have given us credentials. So we got in and went ahead, because I was really looking forward to the trip. And I tell you the truth, if I had not gotten in or gotten credentials, we'd have probably gone on the trip anyway and just skipped the SHOT Show. That was, again, just part of the trip. But it is an industry show. You can't just drop into it. It is for, I guess, one of the primary purposes is to introduce firearms products, and for retailers and distributors too, maybe, I don't know, but retailers to go there and take orders and buy, various products for their store, for their shops, for whatever, the next 6 months, I don't know, the next year, whatever they want to buy. So that's really what it's about. And one of the big differences is, and if you were there, you know what I mean, and you may be one of the buyers yourself or sellers, but many of the booths, there were tables of people sitting around making deals. I mean, they were actually writing orders and, I guess, negotiating and all that sort of thing for whatever it is, 10,000 boxes of ammo or 600 Glock 19s. I don't know, but that's really part of the purpose of that show. So it's a little bit different, but still, it's a big gun show to get right down to it. Just a big gun show. And I enjoyed it. It was long. So much of it is, everybody talks about how it takes 3 or 4 days, really, of constant walking to get through every booth. But John and I spent 2 days. Then we went on. We continued our trip. But we saw the part we really wanted to see. I don't think we missed many booths or companies that we really wanted to see. I had a list of some firearms I wanted to look up and take a look at because I'd heard some buzz about them, and I knew you would be interested in our trying to get one and doing something with it. The Remington R51 was one of those. I made a point to go there and fondle that thing and talk to the people there, get the names of the person that would be in charge of T&E guns, test and evaluation guns. I think most of y'all know what that means now. To see if they'd send me one, and they're supposed to do that. I got the right person and been in touch with them and talked to her there at the show and everything. So she says that as soon as they're available, they're going to send me one. And it's going to be a month, I think, on that at least, but they will. They'll get one to me, I think. And one reason I'm confident is she seemed to be certain, and I ran into another person at Remington that was extremely familiar with the videos and and really liked our videos and everything. And that's been one of the benefits of getting to whatever we're at, 950,000 subscribers. It helps us do that kind of thing. I've said from the beginning, that was one of the benefits, and I would have conversations with John about that, how, I've had enough fame in my life, a little bit here and there. I've had my 15 minutes of fame 2 or 3 different times, and this is all fun and everything. It's neat running into people that know me and all that, I appreciate it desperately, or not desperately, but I appreciate it immensely. Not too desperate about anything, I guess, but so I don't mean to make light of it, but I've talked to John about how it would be nice. I remember way back 2 or 3 years ago, how when people first started recognizing me, and I realized that, wow, a lot of people are watching these videos, aren't they? That's interesting, you know. And I would say things to the effect that, boy, it would be great if people would get to know us well enough that we could get guns borrowed or lent to us and that kind of thing, you know. And because we were at that time, you know, we had this big plan about how, okay, now we can buy a SIG, we can do videos with it, whatever, you know, one that people have been asking about, and then we could sell it, trade it, and then whatever the next gun that people are interested in, at least on the kind of the T&E side or that side. You know, what we do is not just test guns or just bring guns that are requested. We do lots of stuff I like and all sorts of things, you know, that whatever drops in our lap randomly, but there's that other side where we're trying to meet the requests, you know, of the most common requests. You know, then there's always a couple out there that we're constantly getting barraged with, so we had to sort of plan how we could do that and kind of, you know, satisfy the needs or desires of you guys on that front too, not just show you the stuff I like, but even if I didn't like it, if everybody wants to see it, well, somehow maybe we could get one and we just buy it, you know, buy a gun a month or whatever it was. But anyway, during that time period, I remember talking about it. Oh, boy, sure would be nice, wouldn't it, if we could get just enough celebrity so that maybe a local gun shop would help us in that regard, or, you know, we could get some old guns lent to us by a gun shop or something like that, you know, and of course that has happened. So that's the cool part of having the large audience. It really is, because it's easier to bring those things to you. Now we can't bring everything, and you know, I don't even contact some companies, or I have and haven't heard back 2 or 3 times, so I say forget you. You know, just like Smith & Wesson, if I do a Smith & Wesson, it's because someone locally lent it to us. Smith & Wesson, and I don't think Colt would either, but you know, I've given up on Smith & Wesson, for example, so that's one reason we don't bring you a lot of different Smith & Wessons, you know, as much as I like their guns, you know, generally speaking, but you know, if they don't want to send them to us to do videos with, then they don't get videos made at hickok45, you know, very much. But anyway, but that's the neat thing about it. As I kind of got launched off there from the Remington, it helps that, and I noticed it at SHOT Show too, that almost with every company there was somebody who was familiar with the videos, very familiar with them. And I think of a guy at Carr who was so glad to see us. Even a guy at Glock, believe it or not, came up and talked to I mean, that's the first time that's ever happened. Now, he was in a different division or something, I think, but you know, Glock is a different animal. They really are. But that has been a benefit, being able to get firearms from just about any company if we really want one. I think it. You know, Beretta, you know, whatever, and we don't have time to do them all. For one thing, we don't, you know, just not the way we operate. But we will eventually get to the ones that people want to see the most, or the ones that are the most desired by a lot of people. I started to say ones that people should be wanting, but I don't know. That's kind of a weird assumption in it, but I kind of know, you can kind of see what's coming and what's going to be popular, and what is a firearm that's there's going to be a lot of buzz about, and there's going to be a lot of questions about it. You know, even if it's not the best thing out there. You know, like the Glock 42, that's not going to fit a lot of people. They're going to say, "Huh, 380, that gun, don't care about it." But so many people are interested in it, and they want to know about it, that, you know, do those kinds of things anyway. So anyway, I got to rambling there a little too much tonight. Let's see, what else about the SHOT Show? Well, the R51, I was saying, it looks pretty good, pretty interesting. I need to get it and shoot it, take it apart, you know, and all that. It's kind of an interesting slide. I'm anxious to see inside and what makes that slide feel the way it does when you pull it back. It's not really smooth, but it's got an interesting design to it. Trigger felt good. It's a striker-fired firearm, and just looking at it, it felt pretty good. So I'm anxious to get one. The SIG 320 looks interesting, and I have written them. I had a gun coming from SIG. It was one of their 1911s, and in 22, and it was kind of on the list for it, and it was supposed to be in the works. And I wrote them and asked about maybe getting a 320 instead. I don't know how available it's going to be and when and all that, but I just did that a few days ago. I haven't heard back from them, but that's one I'd like to get. It's a striker fired, SIG. For those who don't know, I think it comes in 9, 40, 45. I don't know, at least 9 and 40, and it's in at least a couple of different sizes. Looks like kind of a full size and mid size, and I'm not sure how they compare with, say, a Glock 19 and Glock 17. Or if the smaller one is closer to a Glock 26, I don't know. I just have to get them in. What else? We saw an AR from Beretta. I wasn't familiar with that XS something or XX whatever. I don't remember the number on it, but their model number. But an extremely modular AR. It looked pretty interesting. I've got to get back with them, get one of those in. And of course the Glock 42, which you have seen probably if you're listening to this, that we did the video with. Wanted to get one of those, and it was great. I talked to Bud's Gun Shop out there, and they had one waiting for me when I got back here. I still would not have had one from Glock, I guarantee you. But that interesting little gun, and it's not what everybody's going to want, man, that's for sure. And I covered most of that in the video. I pretty much said what needed to be said, I think, but by the same token, I'm carrying it in my pocket right now. I think there's always going to be a need or a desire for a pocket pistol that is reliable and is light, regardless of the caliber. Because generally speaking, it's going to be lighter if it's a smaller caliber, a smaller cartridge. And it's going to be attractive to a certain percentage of people, and me some days. I know a lot of people that carry a little 380 in their pockets. Once you get up to a 9, you end up with more weight. Now, it's doable. There's several, like my little PM9. I always feel like that's a small gun, but it's heavier than this Glock 42. I forgot the difference, but it's heavier. A good bit. I'm thinking it's not to weigh them again. I'm thinking it's like 3 ounces difference. I hope I'm telling you right there. I didn't dream that. I'll do it. I'll tell you what. I'll weigh it here while I'm talking to you. Let me hit the pause button here. Okay, I'm back. Y'all didn't leave, did you? While I ran in and got my PM9. Actually, when I said that, I thought it was like I had it out here with me. Like, duh, I just have to grab it and put it on the scales. But I had to go in and dig it out. Well, not dig too deeply, because it's one that I have pretty handy to carry. Okay, I've got it. I loaded it fully, just like I have the Glock 42 loaded. And I think I didn't weigh these two in the video. I should have. The PM9 is showing 1 pound, 3 3/4 ounces. And again, 1 pound, 3 3/4. It bounced back and forth. It almost hit 4 ounces there, I showed. So it's almost 1 pound and 4 ounces. Okay, let's see what this other baby is. Pull it out, pocket. It's hot. It's loaded fully. So on the PM9 we had 1 pound, almost 4 ounces. On this we have 1 pound and basically a pound. We got a 1/4 ounce over. Yeah, 1/4 ounce. So, yeah, man, we're talking almost 4 ounces difference. That doesn't sound like much. When people talk about ounces, it's like, whoa, that bale of hay is 8 pieces of straw heavier. Well, a pound is a pound, and you add 4 ounces, you got more weight there, dude. So that's I don't know, I shouldn't say significant, but when you're talking about light pistols, generally light pistols to begin with, that is it's quite a difference. So we have, 16 ounces basically versus 20. you do the math on that. That's a little different. So, not that the PM9 is really heavy or anything, but you can feel that. You can feel it more in your pocket. The Glock is more like the little P380 car, and I think we weighed those off camera too. Maybe they were about the same. I think maybe the car was even a little heavier than the Glock on that. I don't recall now, but that's light. And there's always, I think, getting back to my point, for a really light gun in the pocket, if you're going to pocket carry. Now, again, you got the 380, versus 9, and that it's, you can't argue probably that a 9 would likely be better than a 380, and but having a gun is more important than the caliber. There's so many people that have a really nice, whatever it might be. The old story is, your 45 back home or in the glove box is much less effective than the little pea shooter you might have in your pocket, the 22 long rifle Derringer or whatever, the one you have on you. And that really cannot be underestimated. I tell you what, you know how Murphy works. Murphy's Law will dictate that if you ever do need your firearm, it's likely going to be that 2-hour period during that day or that one day that you don't carry it because of the way you're dressed, or because it's a little big, I'm going to leave that at the house or in the car or something. That's just Murphy's Law is going to get us. So anyway, it's so while I can certainly criticize Glock for making this thing in 380, I still see a vast market for it, and I'm keeping this one, and I'm carrying it right now. And I tell you, a lot of it's strictly that lightness. I like that lightness because it's literally not there. I don't really know I have it. Now, you might argue I don't have a gun, but I might also have a Glock 23 or 27 on my hip, right? But that little, I am going to have 6 or 7 shots of 380. Whatever else is going on, I'm going to have that. And that's not going away unless I'm somewhere where it's totally illegal. Okay? I'm going to have 7 shots of 380 and a spare mag. And I'm not even going to know I have them. Right? I mean, they don't weigh anything. So there's something to be said for that, So as much as we all might criticize the 380 and Glock's decision to come out with that one, there is a place for it. I think they will probably sell like hotcakes. They will probably sell out of those things if that's possible at Glock. Glock seems to do a pretty good job of keeping up, don't they? I guess early on when Gaston came up with the ideas early on, the manufacturing process, for them and everything, he was able to. Of course, they didn't have extreme demand when they first came out, but it's rare that I can recall in the past, 25 years that you just could not find a Glock. Now, sometimes with the political climate and various things that happen, there's always those little spells where it's hard to find what you're looking for. But the Glocks, generally speaking, are always there. So I imagine they'll be able to keep up with them. I got a little bit of inside information. I understand that Glock has made a lot of them. So, if you want one, they're not going to be like, apparently, based on what I heard, they're not going to be like some of the new firearms that come out from some other companies, and the waiting period is a year, or you never find one. So if you want one, you'll probably be able to get one. It's really not all that expensive. I think the MSRP is like $399, and that's hard to beat. If you want one. Okay, enough on that. I talked about the Glock 42 enough, didn't I? But it's a nifty little gun. Oh, by the way, there is, though, of course, that issue. It may not function the ammo you want. If you saw the posting there I put in the description of that video from the owner of Buffalo Bore Ammo. He he has seen this happen with some 380s with his Plus P ammo, where it locks the slide back, and because of a weaker slide lock spring and I think the cutout, he was saying that Glock could probably remedy that if they wanted to, but he has seen that happen with his Plus P with some other 380s. So that's just something to watch for. If you're trying to put in a nuclear 380 round, maybe that's not the best way to go, because one thing you do generally get with a Glock is extreme reliability, and that's, I think, the attraction is a Glock, and you don't want to compromise that, because I'll definitely be carrying something else if I'm not confident it's going to go bang and it's going to load the next round, right? But I'll probably go back and forth on my pocket gun between this and the PM9. I just kind of feel that's what I will do. And I'll generally settle on one of them most often. But SHOT Show is an amazing place, no doubt about it. As I was going to say, I said earlier, much of it is comprised of hunting equipment, and there were, rooms full of, large rooms. Think of, when I say rooms, maybe your largest gun show you've been to. There are 2 or 3 gun shows, large gun shows, of just law enforcement equipment, and then probably 2 or 3 large gun shows of hunting equipment, that kind of thing. So you had all sorts of. So John and I went through a lot of that. We kind of got to. We may have missed the whole room of the law enforcement. Maybe, I don't know. Although there were some interesting things in there because some of your major companies are in there. I know some of the major companies, would have a booth, say in the law enforcement area, and then also another booth in the general area or something. Because of their product diversification or whatever. But anyway, and then some of the hunting we walked through a little bit faster because I don't really hunt. If you're a hunter, you'd have been in Nirvana for sure, because just incredible stuff. But we went through a lot of it. But we got around to through most of the show though, and I don't think we missed anything that we really wanted to see. There was one company I missed that I usually see at the NRA convention. I missed the C Sharps company. They're in Montana, along with Shiloh Sharps. They make the big Sharps rifles, of course. And I'd still like to get another Sharps. I let that Shiloh go several years back, and had a Pedersoli, before that. And I about decided I would like to have one sometime, but probably more of a carbine model, or at least not so long, because I thought for a while there I might get into long range metallic cartridge or black powder cartridge silhouette shooting, at least occasionally. And that last rifle I had, the Shiloh, would have been very suitable for that. It was a 32-inch barrel, I think. But I didn't do that, and probably won't do that. And it was just a big old long gun that took up a lot of safe space. And in here, the longest range I ever shot, it was at 230 yards, and I really couldn't hit any better with it than anything else I have that at that range with good sights. So I let somebody talk me out of it, and but I wouldn't mind having, because the Sharps is that 1874 model classic Sharps. Quigley Down Under, if you've seen that movie, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that gun, that action really is a classic, and I would like to have one. Maybe I just get another Pedersoli. I don't need a mega expensive one, that kind of, although they're all expensive. That's the thing about firearms, isn't it? But I didn't see the C Sharps company. Somebody said they were there, had a small booth, and I just missed them somehow. But we had a great time there. And what else about Las Vegas? If you've never been to Las Vegas, that might be a place to put on your bucket list, because not necessarily because you're looking to go gamble a lot or anything, but it's just such a novelty. It really is. Well, they call it Sin City. It really is a lot of what anything you want is there. readily accessible. It's like the city of extravagance. It really is. It's just amazing. Those casinos, I hadn't been out there in 15 or 20 years, and the casinos are just something else now. The newer ones, like we were right across the street from Caesar's Palace and the Bellagio, all those we were on the Strip. We were in one of the older ones, the Flamingo, kind of a classic hotel casino, which is kind of neat. And they're all right there. What was the other? Oh, the Venetian, which is basically where the exhibits were down there, and as a part of it, connected to it was right down from us. It is part of the Sands Hotel, I think, or at least it was the Sands Convention Center. But they're just literally unbelievable. I mean, I've been to the big city. I've seen the elephant. But when you walk through those newer casinos, or hotels, I should say, all the casinos are about the same, really. The casino parts of the hotels, every hotel has a large casino in it, right? There's not that much difference there. It's the hotels, the extravagance. It's just unbelievable. Oh man, if you're someone who hates big business, you would hate that place and the money that people have put into those hotels. John and I went over early on in the week to the Caesar's Palace. We went over to look for a cigar shop that the Talking Lead guys had told us about, and we found the cigar shop, and we were walking through there after we bought a cigar or two, and at, of course, triple the price they should be. But we walked through there, and we couldn't get out. We couldn't get out of the casino, or the hotel. You walk, and they have it designed that way pretty much, so you'll stay there and gamble and buy things in the shops. But then we finally opened up this big mall or hallway where the sky was blue and there were white clouds, except it wasn't really the sky. It was fake sky. Then I tell you, if you had a few drinks, you would think you were outside. No doubt about it. The Venetian was the same way. And it went on forever. We never found our way out of there. Wow. I mean, they are extravagance to the extreme. I mean, they really are. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it's just unbelievable what somebody has spent to create some of those hotels, and just unreal. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. So I think what they do is, over the last 20, 30, or 50 years, is whoever's building the next, big hotel, they try to outdo the other ones. It's that kind of deal, I guess. And it's an amazing place. If you haven't been there, even if you don't like to gamble, and I don't really care to gamble. I'll a little bit just for fun, entertainment, spend. Actually, I spent, I think, $5 or $6 this time gambling. That's all I did. I don't know, the last time I was out there, I think I spent $100. When I say spent, that's the way I look at it. I spent about $100 the last time I was out there gambling, because it's like spending at an amusement park. You're not going to win, like duh. So it's just however long it takes you to lose whatever you decide you're going to spend. So I don't get a big thrill out of the gambling side of it. I don't know. I don't know, those slot machines, you can sit down at those things and you never win. And, I don't know, I'm not necessarily good at blackjack. You might win by accident or something. But John won $50. He was kind of the same way I was. He didn't want to lose a bunch of money. So he was going to spend like $20 on the roulette, or something. He won it. Oh, cool. And he lost and won. But he ended up, he won like 2 or 3 times in a row, and just picked up his chips and his money, and that was it, and left. That's all he did. So he actually came out $50 to the good. He was smart about it. He wasn't going to just, oh, man, if I won 50, that means I could win 100, and I could win 200 if I bet that, and I could have thousands of dollars. Of course, that's what funds that place, people, thinking they're going to win. And, of course, if you ever talk to anybody, they always won. Oh, yeah, I won $130, man, in my trip to Vegas. Yeah, really? You may have, because John actually did win $50, but that was only because he didn't gamble much. He just, 2 or 3 spins of the wheel. What people tend to forget is, I think that, I gambled all Monday, and I was up 75. Then I was down Then I was up 35, then I was down 60, and they tend to forget that they lost maybe a couple $100 one day. Then they start afresh the next day, and maybe they are up $10, you know. And the next day they lose 100 again, but maybe the last day they gamble, they had a great day and won $150. So that's the day they talk about, right? I don't know. Anyway, it's an interesting place, and I would highly recommend that you try it once. Just go there one time and just see what it's like, because there's nothing like it. There really is not. We were staying in the Flamingo. I don't know if you're familiar with the talking lead idiots. No, they're not idiots. They're good guys. They're characters. Zeke and Left Hand, they have one of the most popular shooting podcasts, or firearms related podcasts out there. I think in fact it ranks first, I think, a lot of times on iTunes or wherever all it's available. And they've only been doing it a little bit over a year, but they're good guys, and they had a room that, through some various things that happened, they did not need close to theirs, and wondered if we wanted it. So I said, yeah, why not? We'll stay there. It's on the Strip, and didn't have to think about reservations. So we just took that one and stayed there next to those guys, made sure they behaved. Had to monitor those guys. But we were right there on the Strip, and that's pretty neat, because you're right there in all the craziness. And I wanted to be within walking distance. That was my only thing. I didn't want to have to get in a cab to go down to the convention center, or get in a car. We had the car there, the truck. I just wanted to park the truck and forget about it for the most part for the week that we were there, the time we were there. And so that was nice, just be able to walk down to the convention hall. And that's what we did, right there on the Strip. Before getting to some other parts of the trip, guess what I have on the table out here that I'm going to go out and take some shots with. See if you can tell. Probably not. But it happens to be the Schofield. Yes. Thought it was a good day for that. Weather has broken a little bit. The sun's out, and it's going to go back into the 20s again now, and high of the 20s this week, and high of 15 one day. And so I'm going to get out and shoot some. Also, I have another fine firearm out here. Listen to this one. You can probably tell it's a bolt gun. Yes, the Swedish Mauser, the big one. I have two of these. This is the long one, 1911 model, made in 1911, that you've seen, I hope. If not, get your butt over to that video. We've got two videos on the 96. And the chapter 2 is the one where I have this one that's mine, that's not borrowed. Beautiful gun. What a piece of workmanship, craftsmanship that firearm is. And I thank you guys for that. I may have already thanked you for it. Sorry if I'm redundant. Sorry if I repeat myself. But you guys brought to my attention that I might want to check out a Swedish Mauser. Probably 3-4 years ago I started hearing about that, and I finally did, and I see why you like them so much. Oh boy, that is a great rifle. Oh, anyway, I'm going to take those out and fire them a little bit. Both of them, I think, if I don't yak too long, if you guys don't keep me too late here yakking. But if I'm going to do a little radio show, I don't want it to be 10 minutes. Probably already been yakking for an hour. But John and I had a great trip. Like I said, we drove out through West Texas, and I wanted to see the desert. I wanted to spend time in it. I didn't care if it was a boring drive, and it was not. I traded the Element recently for the Ridgeline, and really kind of had this trip in mind when I did that. I knew that my objective was in January to head out west for 2 weeks. And I thought, I need to do a lot of work on the Element in terms of just maintenance. It was due a major maintenance, tires and shocks, and right there, you're talking about some serious money. And I still had a car with 210,000 miles on it. So I needed a truck. I need a truck around the place here, and that's reliable. And so I talked myself into the fact that I really probably should just go ahead, bite the bullet, and get a truck. And looked at several things, and it kept coming back to this Honda Ridgeline I sat in, and I thought, wow, that thing has as much room in it and headroom and everything as the Element did. It's the same things that attracted me, and along with it being a Honda. And couldn't get the thing out of my mind. I really couldn't. I test drove the things twice, and it didn't matter what else I looked at. I kept coming back to that thing and the way it ran, and man, it felt, and it's all one. It's not really a truck because it's all a unitized body, so you don't have just a frame with, a bed bolted onto it, that kind of thing. It's a very solid piece of equipment. And oh boy, that thing, it just rode like I don't know what it rode like. I've ridden in some big cars, Continentals and Cadillacs and lots of big, luxury American cars, and it just rides like one of those. Going across West Texas, 80 miles an hour. That's the cool thing out there is speed limits are 75 and 80 out through there. And of course, so people are driving 85, right? But I couldn't even tell I was moving. It's just so I'm glad I traded. And so we took the Ridgeline on its first road trip. It sounds like I'm selling Ridgelines, doesn't it? And it worked out great. Cruising across West Texas, oh man, it's just some kind of country out through there. We stopped in Odessa. I remember we saw a crater from a meteorite that hit. We stopped. That was one of the first stops out there. We thought it was pretty cool. And remember, we had breakfast, I guess it was, in Sweetwater, Texas. That's probably after we spent the night a little bit west of Fort Worth, I guess. Oh man, we ended up in some shabby hotel that first night. It wasn't by design. It was just, we were floundered around. We were tired. Been driving since Nashville, and here we are west of Fort Worth. So I don't have to tell you, that's a pretty good little drive. We missed an exit where there were a bunch of not Holiday Inns, but like a Holiday Inn or a Comfort Inn or Quality. Just a lot of places was fine. Just John and me, One like I had the wife along, or something where we were afraid of a dangerous area or something. John and I can usually handle ourselves, but we did end up in some place because I didn't want to go back and try to find this exit, and it was rough. John is convinced that somebody was murdered on both of the mattresses in that room. It looked like there was blood stains from way back or something. But anyway, we left there, and I think that's the morning we ended up in Sweetwater and had breakfast, and learned while I was there that Bat Masterson was in a shootout there and was wounded badly. That's an interesting little tidbit, so I really felt like I was in Texas, in the West. And we went on, and drove all the way through there, and up through El Paso and into New Mexico, southern New Mexico, across southern New Mexico, I'm trying to say, and Arizona, and down to the fine little town of Tombstone. You may have seen the picture I posted on Facebook of me standing there in front of the stagecoach in Tombstone, and that was a great place to visit. I mean, you can imagine how I would enjoy going to Tombstone. I've seen every Wider movie. I've read several books, and that was just pretty cool. Walking around town there, John and I bought cigars there in a little shop. Bought a lighter, in fact, that I've got right here, in the cigar shop there in Tombstone, and sat under a tree. I guess it was a big mesquite tree. I remember a rock wall there, and finished our cigars, walked around, watched the OK Corral reenactment. Lots of reenactments going on. We wanted to see the historical one, and where the actual shooting took place, right there behind the OK. It actually took place behind the OK Corral, and they point that out. And they've got with dummies, I guess you'd say, or mannequins there, standing in the positions where the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday stood, and the McLaurys and Clantons and all that. So it's pretty neat. They've got a note there. It's all protected. A picture of the note that Wyatt Earp wrote. I think it was in 1924. Wasn't all that long before he died, where someone had asked him to draw it out, where everybody was, and it's as neat. It's done in pencil on a piece of paper, just like you or I would do, maybe sitting at a bar, and with the names labeled and where people were standing and everything. It was pretty cool. But we enjoyed that, seeing all the historical part there of Tombstone. Went through the Birdcage Theater. You have to pay extra to go through it, because it's virtually unchanged. I think they've added air conditioning and electricity, and that's it, pretty much. And a lot of the stuff is there where Holiday and those guys played cards. The tables and the piano is still right there against the stage that has always been there, has not even been moved ever. So things like that. I mean, since 1881. And so that was pretty neat to go through that. What else about Tombstone? I don't know. Oh, I bought a holster there. Yeah. There's one place that, I forget the name of the company, that they make holsters. My other rig, actually, San Pedro saddlery, that you see me wearing in the videos, the belt and holsters, are made by a company out of Tombstone, except they went out of business, so they no longer make them. But those are from Tombstone. The guy went out of business several years back that made that stuff. But there's a holster maker there now, and I was wanting to buy something from Tombstone while I was there, besides a cigar or a mug, maybe, and I looked through the holsters. It really wasn't a lot there different from what I have or I needed, but I bought one that's good for a short Colt, and that's cool. That's cool. In fact, thought it was for a 1911, and the guy who makes them wasn't there in the shop. His wife was kind of manning the shop, and I've never really bought a holster like that, kind of a Western style for a 1911. But they had several there they make for the cowboy action shooting. They have a what do you call it? Oh gosh. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but there's a category now of competition in cowboy action shooting. I think not every club does it, but where they do use the 1911s, the traditional 1911s. It's based on the movie that I can't think of. That's why I can't think of the name of this. Had William Holden in it, and Ernest Borgnine, Warren Oates. I can see everything about the movie. Maybe I'll think of it before I turn off the recorder here. But she was telling me it was for a 1911. I was just looking at it, and I didn't happen to have a 1911 on me. I thought, okay, I think I will. So I did. I bought a holster. I thought, that's cool. It'd be good for packing around the farm, just messing around. And it's Tombstone is made here, and handmade leather holster. So I'll do it. Wasn't cheap, but got to have a good souvenir from Tombstone. Does it get any better than a leather holster, if you're going to have a souvenir from there? But I really got it home, and the 1911, it looks kind of like a 1911 holster, but it's really not. It kind of smothers it, and it's not tight. I stuck my 4 3/4 inch Colt single action in it, and it fits like a glove. So I think that's really what it was, which in a way is actually better. So I did get a souvenir there. But John and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope you saw the picture on Facebook. I can't think of anything else about it other than just the history is what makes it so cool. The saloon, the Oriental, and everything. We went in there and had lunch in Tombstone, and just toured all of it basically. A lot of it was just souvenir shops, but the old part of the town is pretty neat. I know it went through a couple of different fires, so a lot of those buildings have been rebuilt. So that was pretty cool. From Tombstone, we left and went up. I think that night we got up to Tucson, spent the night in Tucson. I really have learned that we should have investigated Tucson a little bit more. I think there's some old areas of Tucson that I would thoroughly have enjoyed touring, and just didn't do it. We we didn't have a lot of extra time on the way to the SHOT Show, but we could have taken even another day if we really wanted to or needed to on the way out. More flexible, once it was over. But I knew we wouldn't be able to. We weren't. The plan was not to go somewhere and spend 3 days on Tombstone, but just to see as much of some of the interesting things that we could, or as many of them as we could on the route. And you just need to go back, and see. You need to go back and spend a day or two, maybe in Tucson or Phoenix, and all the spots along the way. If you really want to see a lot, we stopped at the Hoover Dam on the way up, and we toured a lot of it. Spent, I don't know, a couple hours at least, at Hoover Dam. That was cool. That was really neat. And I've seen pictures of that my entire life. I remember as a dumb little kid in school, I think, seeing pictures in my geography book or history book of the Hoover Dam and how they built it and all that. And so it was pretty cool to walk out on it and all that. And up on the bridge above it and look down. I guess I haven't posted that. We had someone took our picture up there. I'll post that on Facebook maybe sometime. Ran into a viewer up on the Hoover Dam. That was cool. And he didn't try to push me off the dam or anything, or the bridge. Wasn't a troll. That'd be bad, wouldn't it? Run into one of the mean old trolls that I blocked, up on the Hoover Dam, and then get pushed off the Hoover Dam. Oh gosh. Most of the trolls are still hiding in their basements, so I guess there's not much chance of that, right? And we roll on up into Vegas, and just a beautiful country, the desert. I tell you, well, you might not think it's beautiful if you live out there. Again, it's just so different and so interesting. Those, I'll mispronounce it, but those cactuses that grow out there in southern Arizona, the Saguaro Cactus, I know I'm butchering that probably, but something like that, those big tall ones. I knew from having been to Phoenix before that that's the area where they grow, even though in the movies, in fact, I was watching a Western this morning, Randolph Scott Western. It was funny that there were those saguaro cactuses all over the place, and they were talking about how they were in California. But as I understand it, they basically just grow in southern Arizona, that area, and northern Mexico down in there. That's it. And when you get, I don't know, maybe there are a few of them in Southern California. If you live in Southern California, correct me. I've been to San Diego and around. I don't recall seeing it. There might be some though in eastern Southern California. I don't know that I'm not seeing, but by and large, that's the area where those are. And you'll see them in westerns though, no matter what the setting is supposed to be. San Francisco or Denver, you name it. They say that's where they are. But those big cactuses, tall cactuses, just add a really cool local color, element to a western. And of course, that's why I guess a lot of the old westerns they travel to southern Arizona to film them, so they can include those. But I digress, right? So it is desert, but it was interesting to me just to see how it changed as you drove. I mean, and it wasn't based on going north or south necessarily, but every few miles you would start seeing either larger growth, smaller growth, larger trees, if there were any trees, or the mesquite was bigger, and it just changed. It was fascinating. And of course the mountain ranges and big rocks, pretty cool stuff for someone who grew up in Kentucky and Tennessee. Just a very interesting terrain. And then of course as you approach Vegas, there it is out there in the desert. And it was funny because I told John as we were approaching, I said, well, we're not too far. We were like 25 miles away or something, and I could see this city up ahead, or big town or some sort up there. And I thought, well, I'm not sure what that is, but Vegas isn't too far on the other side of it, I guess. And of course, that was Las Vegas. That's another difference out there, is when you're, it's all flat, and so you see things far away, and you don't realize how far away they are. You see a city or a mountain or something. And I knew that. I've been to Denver, I've been to Calgary, and then driven to the Rockies and in California and all that. Like I said, I've been to the big cities. I don't mean to sound like the redneck from Tennessee getting out of Tennessee for the first time. But it is different because what you see is often much further away than it appears. You folks that live out there know what I'm talking about. Except for you, it's not further away than it appears because you grew up in that country. You know how far away it is, right? And then we got into Vegas. But we left there and went straight to, there was this big hole in the ground. I don't know if y'all are aware of it. It's where is it? It's in Arizona, kind of the, I guess, mid to northeastern part of the state. It's this big old canyon. I'd call it the Grand Canyon if it were up to me, but it's big. So we went up there and saw that big hole in the ground. That was pretty neat. I had not seen it up close. If anybody's ever seen it up close, I've flown over it. So we took in the Grand Canyon, and leaving there, we ran in, or saw, a bunch of elk. There were 5 or 6 or 7 of them right there in the road and on both sides of the road. That was neat. Those things are large. They were really large. I have a new appreciation for people who hunt elk and are looking for the right rifle or bullet cartridge. Yeah, they're horses, the ones we saw. Wow. And we went from there on up, again, through more desert and interesting driving to Monument Valley. And there, if you've not been to Monument Valley, put that one on your bucket list. In the meantime, put one of our videos on your bucket list that's not been posted yet. Because we did an FAQ video up there in Monument Valley. It's the one on, on searching somebody's channel, okay, for seeing if they have a video on a Schofield or whatever, okay? Because there's so many people who apparently don't know how to do that, and always asking me if we have a video on something, or that sort of thing, or did y'all have a video on this or that? Well, it's simple, as most of you know probably, it's how to search a channel, or just search YouTube. You put in Schofield and then space hickok45, and it'll show you if hickok45 has anything on the Schofield. So it's very, very simple, but a lot of people apparently don't know that. That's one I needed to do about 3 years ago, and I need to get this one posted. But anyway, we did it in the Monument Valley. And that is a classic place, and it's a funny FAQ. It's my favorite FAQ we did on the trip, even though the Breaking Bad one was pretty cool, being right there in front of Walter's house. And by the way, that is the real place. That wasn't some place we found that looked like Walter's house. That was it. John discovered online an app or something that showed all the various sites where that series was filmed in Albuquerque, and so he got the addresses for about 3 or 4 of them, and we drove around there just on the way through, and that one morning, last Saturday morning, about a week ago, I guess it was, and we looked up 2 or 3 of those sites. The car wash. We just did the one FAQ video, but we drove by and parked there at the car wash. In fact, I was going to get my truck washed, get the dirt washed off of it from Monument Valley, but didn't. I didn't want it. It was one of those car washes, like I need to tell you if you saw the series, that they take your car through and do a thorough job. I just wanted somewhere to kind of clean it off quickly, so I just didn't do it. But yeah, the car wash, and what else did we? Oh yeah, the Saul's office, law office. Went to that spot, and we think we saw too where Skyler, yeah, the wife, works. We drove past that. That was not far from his house, I think. John was pretty sure that was it, but anyway, yeah, I've seen the whole series. So as people have been asking, that is because of you guys again. People keep asking me, have you seen Breaking Bad? You'd like Breaking Bad, okay. So I did. I bought the first season and watched it, and of course got hooked. Duh, doesn't take much, does it? It is good and well done, creative and quirky enough that I would like it, strange enough. And so I got through a few episodes, and I started ordering the rest of it. So I've seen the whole thing, and yeah, it is pretty good. And so that was pretty neat, being in front of Walter's house. And but back to Monument Valley. We did an FAQ up there. Make sure you check that one out, because there will be people that'll swear that's a green screen or something. But that's, if you're not familiar with Monument Valley, that's where so many of the westerns were filmed. John Ford and John Wayne put together 2 or 3 up there at least, and just a lot of them because it's just such a beautiful area. And what you're used to seeing in the westerns there is just a small part of it. You can actually drive through there. It's kind of a rough trail, but you can drive all around all the monuments. I think it was 16 miles or something through there. So we did it, and spent a fair amount of time there driving through there, looking at those big red mountains, rocks. So it's a pretty cool place. In fact, the Grand Canyon is amazing, but I'd almost rather see the Monument Valley if I had to choose between the two. I guess the Monument Valley is kind of the opposite of the Grand Canyon when you think about it. If you've seen them, I guess you've got maybe one's female, one's male. Ha ha, funny, huh? But interesting places, and we'll be posting not too long in the future the FAQ there, and then we did one more in the desert somewhere. But that's kind of, you got to get to Monument Valley sometime. Gorgeous, gorgeous place. Yeah, I've got to shut up so I can get out here and shoot. But it was funny when we stopped in front of the Breaking Bad house there. We parked over on the opposite side of the street, and looked around. I mean, it's a regular neighborhood. This is not a movie studio. As I understand, the studio paid this guy, whoever lived there. I don't know. John knows more about it than I do. I think maybe it's just a guy that lives there. I don't know if it's a family. Maybe it's a family. But they were paid. He was paid to live somewhere else. I don't know if they got him another house or whatever, certain months of the year or however they did it. Maybe the whole time they were filming, I don't know. But they used his house, and so, like I said, there's an app for that. I mean, people can find it and go to it. And you know how big that series was, and so we stopped there, and it was just a regular neighborhood. It was Saturday morning, kind of early. I don't know, 8:30 or something, and not too much traffic there. And it's kind of back out of the way, and so. We didn't want to bother these people, but we figured they're used to being bothered, and we didn't go even into their driveway or anything. And I just, you saw it was out there in front of the house, and there was nobody around. Didn't see a sign of life other than a car coming in and out once or twice, and so we did that, and got back in the car and truck, and about that time, an SUV rolled up right there in front of their place, and about 5 people rolled out, and some gal got in the driveway, and so I was taking her picture, in front of the house. I mean, it's definitely a tourist site, and I'm sure that goes on all day. So especially on weekends, probably. So I don't know. I guess the guy just tolerates it, loves it, or whatever. Maybe he needs to put a cup out there for donations, which would be fine. I mean, I'd be tempted to put up a mailbox or something with a sign on it and say, you're welcome to take pictures of the house. Donations are appreciated, or something, for the inconvenience of you clogging up the street. I'd have put $5 in there, $10. Just, sorry, guy, but we just had to stand out in front of your house for a couple minutes and do an FAQ video. And we appreciate. Maybe it'd be funny if that guy's an actual viewer. Wouldn't it? I never thought of that. What if he watches the videos? What if he's a shooter? And he's listening right now. That'd be funny. But if you are, we appreciate your tolerance and putting up with us. And I'm sure you probably have to put up with people knocking on the door and wanting to go through the house and everything else, don't you? But that was pretty neat. And then we left Albuquerque, and I guess we didn't. Well, I forgot we did go through Four Corners. Up there, where, let's see, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona, meet. So I was able to put my big foot in 4 states at once there. So, that's out in the middle of nowhere, of course. But I thought, well, since we were up there around Monument Valley, we'd just cruise on across southern Utah. We were in Utah longer than I expected. In fact, up into Utah a little bit further than I really thought we'd have to be. But so we came across through Utah and Colorado and down to Four Corners. And a couple of pictures there, and then went on. John had some great ideas for that spot. He so when you do is when you get a picture, I have 4 people standing here. The person standing, right together, right there, obviously, holding hands even. One person, the one standing in Colorado, could have a joint in his hand, and the one standing in, well, whatever, New Mexico or Arizona could have a 40-round magazine, in his hand. And it was something, he had another politically incorrect thing about Utah or something we won't go into. But yeah, it have been some photographic opportunities there that have been kind of funny. So we got back down to Albuquerque from there and did the Breaking Bad tour. And if you've not seen Breaking Bad, it is quirky. I don't think you would not like it. I mean, it's not the kind of show you would hate, especially if you're a guy or anybody. You might not like it, might not be your cup of tea, but it's not something that would just turn you off, I don't think. It's the thing that I liked about it was the creativity. The characters are interesting, different. The photography of it, I thought from the very beginning, I would point out to John how interesting it is how some of it was filmed. So that's the kind of thing you would think of probably, and just some interesting photography there. And what else about it? I don't know. It just kind of sucks you in. The character Jesse just drove me crazy there watching it. I just wanted to slap him upside the head so many different times. Of course, I guess that's what they want. But oh man, what a goof, God. But the show's pretty good, and I recommend if you're going to watch it, go ahead and buy it. Find somebody who has bought it and borrow it, and start from the beginning though, because I think it might appear kind of strange if you just landed on an episode somewhere. You'd have to give it a chance. Maybe if you watch 3 or 4 episodes, you'd get hooked. But anything like that where it's a continuation. There's an episode here and there that might appear kind of strange and not very good if you don't know what's happened before that. Brilliant deduction, right? And that's true for anything. I think that's good. If I'm sure people land on our videos, not to imply they're good, but if someone just lands on one of our videos for the first time, I hope it's a a sensible video, because we do some things that are kind of silly. We do, if they land on 2 videos and they're both blowing up watermelons or something, they could get the impression that's all we do, when that's really just a small part of what we do. So you really do have to give something a chance and get a sampling of different episodes, right? One thing about the trip I didn't mention that I think is a pretty cool aspect of a trip like this. Don't know if you've done this before. Maybe it's pretty common. Pretty common in terms of my method of operation. John and I, in fact, took a trip like this. Whoa, gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was. He was still, oh man, I don't know. He might have been in middle school, and took him around North Carolina, back to where I went to college as a freshman at Western Carolina University, and just some different places. Visited, of course, back up home in Kentucky where I'm from, but we went through North Carolina, parts of far east Tennessee. It was a neat little trip we took, and he was pretty young at the time. Well, this was kind of a revisit to that sort of trip, but we made no real specific plans for either of these trips, and other than just some places we knew we were going, of course, and we had reservations on this trip in Las Vegas. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of important. We wanted to be there, in a specific place for 3-4 days at the SHOT Show, so we did have reservations there. Everything else was up in the air. I hope you've done that before. I'm sure you have, but make sure you got some cash, got your credit card, whatever you need, and take off. And that's basically what we did. Had kind of a plan about where we were going. If we had gotten into West Texas and wanted to stay an extra day, we would have done it. If we had decided to go down to San Antonio for some reason, I mean, really, we didn't have time to do that if we were going to get to Las Vegas. So that was kind of the anchor of the trip. But you know, we could have stopped anywhere. We had our eye out to just look for anything that was interesting. Knew of the key places we wanted to stop. Had no motel, hotel reservations other than the Las Vegas, hotel, the Flamingo. And so, we just look for a place, plug in the GPS or see a place along the road when we're ready to stop and stop. Or if we had been driving a great deal one day, as in all day almost, with just a few stops, then maybe the next day we would stop a little sooner. And just depending on where we're going, where we are, what we're approaching, what city, town we're approaching, see a motel looks decent and, check in. If they're full, go somewhere else. So I don't know if you've ever done that, or you might be someone who likes to have everything planned out exactly and know exactly where you're going to be and where you're staying. But it's for one thing, it's hard to do. It locks you in. If you want to spend more time somewhere, you can't do it, as easily. You can cancel reservations again. But anyway, that was the whole trip except for Las Vegas. Coming back, same thing. We could have taken a 3-day detour if we had wanted, if really we're in the mood or just needed to go somewhere else, wanted to go somewhere else. But that's the beauty of a trip like that. You just take off. Pack your clothes and go. And it was a lot of fun. And if you've not taken a trip like that, I hope you get to do it sometime. It's pretty cool. So often our lives are planned out, every hour of the day or every day of the week. And it's kind of nice just go jump in the car with some money and go somewhere and change course in the middle of the stream if you want to. So that was pretty cool. Well, as usual, I've yacked away for too long. I still have some daylight, though. I'm going to get out here with this Swedish Mauser, I think. I guess I better narrow it down to one of these firearms here, getting later. I will, I think so, the Swedish Mauser, since I have it out. Get a pocket full of rounds and take a few shots with it. In fact, I did buy a couple of boxes of ammo for it while I was somewhere in Texas. I remember we saw a gun shop advertised on the billboard and stopped and found some ammo for it. That was cool. By the way, we did stop in some gun shops. Nothing all that impressive. When we got to Phoenix, we made a point, because I knew there were some good gun shops in Phoenix. I'd heard there were. And we actually looked up 3 different ones and went to them, just using the GPS. And what was it? Gun World, I think, a big one, which was fine. Kind of sterile, like a lot of the, big new gun shops with great ranges. Some of those are really nice gun shops. They're not the kind of gun shop you go in expecting to find interesting guns, as in my estimation, an old lever gun or something like that. I love gun shops that have a variety of stuff. Do a lot of trading maybe, and you might just run into anything there. We did find one like that though, and it was a small shop. What was the name of that place? I don't remember. It was the third one we went to. And almost drove past it. It was just a small place. Oh boy. It even had a kind of an unusual name, as I recall. If you live in Phoenix, you would be familiar with it probably. They had everything. It was like my dream gun shop. It's funny because John and I we've had that conversation so much about some of these new gun shops. Big gun shops are so sterile. I mean, they're fine if you're going to look for the latest AR or Glock or Beretta or whatever it might be, but as far as variety, running into a Swedish Mauser or a Schofield, just a variety of things, you don't see that many shops like that. And this place, as small as it was exactly that. And they had guns in their small space everywhere, hanging on every inch of wall space in the middle of the floor. And I mean to tell you, they had everything there from an Uzi to a Swedish Mauser to a Model 66 lever gun, you name it, they had it. Pistols too. It was an unbelievable place. I cannot remember the name of it, but That's the kind of shop I love. But we didn't really get into a lot of gun shops. I don't know where they were. Unless we knew we were going to be in a town for a little while, we didn't go looking for them. I'm sure I drove right by some marvelous gun shop that some of you all frequent. I just didn't know it. Which brings up another topic. We normally, when we travel, we just we don't do videos and all that kind of thing and make a big deal out of it. I'm afraid my wife will end up shooting somebody at the compound here while I'm gone, because if I'm here, there's a chance I might shoot somebody if they come messing around the compound. But if I'm not here, there's not much question about my wife. She will shoot you if you're messing around the compound. So she has a greater license for that than I do. So, but anyway, we usually, when we go away, nobody knows it till we get back. We don't go away very much. Especially together. So if I'm gone, John's kind of watching the compound, and cameras are always watching. So we got good security, but we still, we just don't do the kind of thing and the blogging on the road and videos on the road and all that sort of thing. But when we get back, we'll give you a clue about some of the things we did, and maybe a little video. Or maybe no video. Generally I go places to see whatever it is I'm seeing. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm not your running correspondent, for a lot of events. We've done a little of that in the earlier years, but we just don't really do much. There's a lot of people doing that, so you can get the gist of and the flavor of whatever it is, whether it's the Knob Creek Machine Gun Shoot or SHOT Show or NRA Convention. There are numerous people who do lots of videos on those things, and so it's easy to find that kind of thing. And you might see me in the background wandering around, without a camera. I'm just looking at guns, fondling firearms. So I didn't want to take away from my fondling time by fondling a camera or having to look into the camera. So anyway, we had a good trip though, and wish you could have been with us. Maybe we could have taken a big caravan of buses and all gone together. That would have been fun, right? One of the regrets of the way we do these trips, though, is that it would be so much fun to let it be known, hey, coming through West Texas next week, on Tuesday, any viewers out there in the area, stop and have lunch with somebody or visit a range and that kind of thing. That's the only regret there. Then that's a big regret. That would be so much fun to do that, to put the word out. And like when I was in Utah or Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, to actually hook up with viewers at a gun shop that you like or something. That would be a really cool thing to do. So that's the one thing we miss out on by the way we operate, and partly because we really need to operate that way, and I'm sure you can kind of understand that. So, but anyway, it was a great trip, and it was great to run into some of you all out there. I'm sure some of you are listening, because we ran into a lot of you at the SHOT Show, and I appreciate the kind words, and hopefully you don't post those pictures on any XXX sites or anything you took of me standing in front of a gun booth or what. Well, actually, I don't care where you post them. I have my clothes on, so it doesn't matter where you post the picture, right? But it was a great trip, and I obviously got to go on the trip with John, my son. So, anytime, you get a father-son trip like that, that can't be all bad, can it? In addition to seeing all the cool stuff. John and I kept saying every day what an extreme trip this was. That was the word that kept coming up, because every day there was something extreme. When I got back home, it's like I had to recover from that, because literally, the first day, of course, the extreme part of that was just the long drive into Texas. And of course, we went through Dealey Plaza where Kennedy was shot. We saw that. I didn't mention that, but the next day we're in West Texas driving across the desert, and to me that was extreme, and then we're up into southern New Mexico and Arizona and Tombstone. I mean, it's all this extreme stuff I've wanted to see forever. And then we're up at the Hoover Dam. That's extreme too, And then we're on up into Las Vegas. everything about Las Vegas is extreme, as I've talked about. The casinos, the hotels, and then the SHOT Show. It doesn't get any more extreme than that. The hot women, they're extreme. You see walking around. Then we go from there to the Grand Canyon. How extreme is that big hole in the ground? And then we go up to Monument Valley. Pretty extreme, so, and then down to Walter White's house to pay him a visit, and just literally from one extreme to the next through the whole trip, and all that desert and those mountains and the snow-capped mountains, so it's quite a trip. We enjoyed it, and I can't think of a more interesting trip you could go on that you're really on the trip. It's not just some hallucinogen you've taken and it's on your mind. This was real. It was, everything we saw was real. Wait a minute. I think it was real. Yeah, it was real. So anyway, it was a great trip, extreme trip by an extreme shooter, right? An extremely disturbed human being. So it's been fun yakking at you. Hope I didn't bore you too much with the trip. But that's what the radio shows are kind of about. I'll just chat at you and try to alienate you from the channel by talking too much. Have a great week. I hope you get a chance to shoot. It's going to be cold here, so I'm going to get out here in the last hour of daylight and take a few shots while it's warm. Life is really good. You've been listening to the Hickok 45 radio show. See you on the range.